Good day and welcome to Golden Soul Studios. Today we're back in the ceramics room and we're working on this mother mold. We've actually finished the mold, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction right at the beginning of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So what we have here is a mother mold, which is the mold where I can make multiple copies. And this one's a little special, and something I've never done before is that I've used a silicone rubber as the inside liner, the part that actually has all the texture and all the things you want to transfer into the final copies. So with this silicone rubber model, we also have a plaster backing. Now, I've done plenty of plaster work and done plenty of plaster models and plenty of plaster molds, but I've never used the silicone rubber. So it was a bit of a challenge for me, kind of exciting. It's expensive stuff, so if you get it wrong, you only get the one chance. But anyway, we're successful, and this series of videos is what it takes to make this mother mold. And it's my first one, so hang along with me and we'll experience it together. I think it turned out really well. I haven't had a chance to actually do a clay blank out of it yet, but you'll be there when I do. It's pretty good. Anyway, the first thing we're going to be doing is working on the artwork that this is made on. And we're going to be doing some cleanup work on that so you get a sense of what that is like. And let's go and get into it. All right, thanks for joining me. All right, here we go. Vlog number 1. Welcome to Anderson Studios. We're working on a body casting today. We're working on an original that would be made into a multiple. So this particular clay original started out as another original, and we cast it into this conglomeration over here, but it didn't work out so well, is because by the time you put all that together with the clay works in there, you couldn't flip it over, and that won't bring me the shell castings that I need for the artwork I'm working on. Anyway, this is what we're working on today. This is when it's ready. We'll get a layer of rubber, latex, silicone, and then a plaster shell, and then we will be able to cast thin castings into that and make artwork. All right, so anyway, this is day 1. I'm gonna go get the camera and set it up and let you watch as I clean up some of these seam lines and try to get this into a shape ready for the silicone. And we're going to hope to do that tomorrow because we have a limited amount of time that we can work on this. Because it has a plaster base, you can see the wood frame plaster base hiding under here. See if I can get down there for that. You can see that wood frame and plaster base in here. Now, the plaster is going to dry out the clay, so we only have so much time we can work on this before it starts cracking apart. I've just done a saturation coat of water. Let that soak in. That'll buy us more time while I work on these seam lines, getting this cleaned up, getting any other disconformities fixed up. And I hope to get the latex on this tomorrow and follow that up with the plaster of Paris coating. And that's what we're doing today. All right, well, I was going to use my GoPro, but GoPro's full of data and it's going to take 3 hours to download. So we're just going to do a quick little bit on the phone, and then I've got the time lapse running, which is this gizmo right here. I wonder if they'll short each other out if I... Aha! Anyway, time lapse video's running. It's really not a quick process to clean this stuff up. So we're going to start on this seam here. And the trick is to not do more damage than you have to, and yet make it look like there never was a seam there when you're done. And then we also have to build up this edge here. You can see we've got some of that done right here. And that will allow us to have something to build the latex up onto when we spread latex on here. So kind of like a border stop here kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to get to it. I'm going to sit in my chair. All right, here we are, a little bit of a close-up of this work. It's just a matter of gently scraping off just the right amount. So fortunately for me, I did a pretty good job of making the original model, the original mold. So these seam lines are really pretty darn good. They don't take too much fixing, at least this particular one. There's been some other bad ones on here. And so I just have to really kind of follow what's there. Now the problem with this, it's taking some of the texture away. And as you can see down here, there's actual texture, skin texture and things. There's some blemishes as well. There's another seam line, I think. Well, that's a fold line, I think, here. But I like to keep as much of the texture as possible of the real body casting. So we'll go in and try to match some of that here in a while once we get the seam cleaned up a little bit. But you can see there's some auxiliary splotchiness next to the seam. That's okay. We just got to keep taking it off a little bit at a time. And as we go along, try not to do, you know, the old motto, do no damage. That you don't have, that way you don't have to fix more than what you originally intend to. So see there's a little bit of a low spot there. We can tuck some of that back in and flush it out. Alright. Another tool I have is this one. This is kind of a cutoff. Get up in there and cut off that chunk. There you go. And see, we're almost down to level where I want it to be. The idea is when you're all said and done and you stand back and look, you don't just see an obvious blend line or a bump or a ridge that shouldn't be there. So you got to get in there and make sure that it isn't supposed to be some other way. Like I can see that right here, that's probably a little higher than it should be. And so what I could do is push some of it up and pull some of it down. And that'll look more like the natural muscle would occur right here. So that's, you know, again, that's pretty much phase one for correcting seam lines. And when you're all said and done, part of the trick is to correct it up and down a little bit, not just straight across, you know, do a little work up here even though it's fine, a little work down here, over here, so it hides the seam a little better. See, that's kind of going away pretty good right through there. This other areas might take a little more work. And then we've got to come in and figure out a texture. Alrighty, I'm gonna go back to the time lapse here a little bit more. Just doing some looking about here before we wrap up for the night. Always more details you can go to and fix. We've got some detail here in the neck that we got to work on. A little more cleanup under here. Change the texture around the nipples a little bit. This one needs a little bit of work, it looks like too. These get bumped easily when they come out of the mold, so you almost always have to fix the nipples when they come out of a casting. Anyway, this is where we are right now. Let me back up here a little bit. Got a lot of the seams out. Get my back up. There we go. That's where we're at the end of the day. You can see it's gotten dark out. You can see the moon, full moon tonight. It's beautiful here. Anyway, still quite a bit of work to do. Hopefully get a chance to put the latex on it tomorrow and the plaster on it tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow. But it's gotten cold out here tonight, and I want to get this wrapped up. Now, when I wrap this up, first off, we're going to give it a good drench, which is, you know, a lot less than you would think. We don't want it too wet, or it'll take off detail. It'll melt the detail. So you get a little bit wet, See how it's glistening there? So we're gonna wait until that sinks in, evaporates. Then we're gonna wrap it a couple of layers of plastic. Then we're gonna wrap that with layers of wet towels, and then we're gonna wrap that with layers of plastic again and towels to hold the plastic in place. And that is the best way I've found to put off super drying. Now again, because this is sitting on a plaster armature, it's already sucking water out at an alarming rate. And really, if we don't get this done tomorrow, it's questionable whether we'll have any more days to work on it without repair. So that's the exciting part about ceramics, is it's all time-based. If you wait too long, things go bad. So there are ways to extend the life of things. Now, if this wasn't on a plaster armature and it was just a clay armature holding it up, we could postpone this for weeks if we wanted to on the cleanup process. But because it's on a plaster armature holding it up, because of what we did, let me see if I can explain what we did. So this particular plaster conglomeration here was the original body casting. It's a couple of pieces are over on the shelf, but you can see this was it. Now, the original idea with this was that I was going to be able to put a casting in. Now, this particular casting is 2/3 of the body, so very high-sided, and it's actually the wrong kind of plaster. They ran out of plaster for a while here. USGS plaster wasn't selling it anymore, so I bought this thinking it was the right stuff. It's actually interior wall plaster, not drywall mud, not plaster of Paris, interior wall plaster. There's a sand product in that, and it really doesn't work that well. And I ended up making the mold far bigger than I thought to encompass that. And it turns out, you know, when you cast a piece and build an armature, it's too heavy to flip over and take apart without destroying the artwork. So, you know, back to the drawing board, start over, start doing what we're doing, which is making we're going to make a much lighter armor, or much lighter cast setup on the next one. It'll still have to be segmented so I can get the sides off, because the sides will have to come off because they're curved in. You know, things like that, fun stuff like that. We'll try to show you down the road when I actually do one of the art pieces, and I'll try to include one of the finished products that I have in my gallery, so you guys have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. All right, that's it for now, and I'll show you some slow-mo of the wrap-up process.